Today, we are diving deep into the Amazon rainforest. This isn't just any forest, it's a world that is raw, wild, and frankly, absolutely essential to all of us. It's a place of almost unbelievable scale and complexity, and its future is being decided right now. So, just how big are we talking? Well, look at this number. The Amazon covers 6.7 million square kilometers. That is a space nearly the size of the entire continent of Australia, stretching across 9 different countries. It is, by a huge margin, the biggest tropical rainforest we have left on Earth. And really, the stakes could not be higher. What happens in this massive ecosystem over the next few years isn't just a local issue for South America. It's going to have some serious consequences for the entire planet. And that's exactly why we need to understand it. Okay, so let's get into it. To really get a handle on the Amazon today, its incredible richness, but also its fragility, we've got to go way, way back. We're talking tens of millions of years into our planet's past. You see, the Amazon wasn't just born overnight. It was sculpted by immense forces over eons. It all started about 55 million years ago, when the climate was hotter and wetter, letting these huge tropical forests just spread out. Then, the Andes Mountains started to rise up, creating this gigantic basin that filled with water. Eventually, all that trapped water burst through to the Atlantic, and boom, the Amazon River was born. Even the ice ages played a role, causing the forest to shrink and then regrow, and each time it came back, it was more diverse than ever. So all that time, all that geological drama, it set the perfect stage for an absolute explosion of life. What we got in the end is the most biologically rich place on the planet. It's estimated that 1 out of every 10 known species on Earth calls the Amazon home. Just think about that. And the heart of this incredible world, it's the canopy. Imagine a dense, 20-foot-thick ceiling of leaves and branches that basically forms the roof of the rainforest. This is no quiet attic. It's a bustling, three-dimensional city in the sky where more species live than anywhere else. And what a city it is. It's built on a foundation of over 16,000 different kinds of trees, including giants like the kapok tree that can soar 200 feet into the air. And living up there, you've got spider monkeys using their tails like a fifth arm, and super slow-moving sloths that are literally their own little ecosystems. You can hear the calls of toucans using those huge, colorful bills to grab fruit, and kind of ruling over it all is the harpy eagle, an apex predator with a wingspan over 7 feet wide and talons as big as a grizzly bear's claws. No joke. Now, if you look below that canopy, the whole forest is defined by water. The Amazon River system is the absolute lifeblood of this place, carrying a mind-boggling 20% of all the fresh water that flows into all the world's oceans. And its waters have their own wild cast of characters. You've got these gentle, super smart pink river dolphins navigating the flooded forests, the infamous piranhas, who are actually a vital part of the food web, and electric eels that can generate a shock powerful enough to stun their prey. But long, long before this ecosystem was ever mapped or studied by the outside world, it was home. For thousands of years, hundreds of distinct indigenous communities have lived not just in the Amazon, but with it. Their relationship isn't about taking from it, it's a symbiosis, a deep, interconnected knowledge that's woven right into the fabric of the forest itself. And here's a brilliant example of that ancient wisdom. Scattered all through the Amazon, you'll find these patches of what's called terra preta, or Amazonian dark earth. This unbelievably rich, fertile soil, well, it isn't natural. It was created by ancient peoples thousands of years ago by adding things like charcoal and organic waste. It's actual archaeological proof of long-term, sustainable living that made the forest richer, not poorer. This deep knowledge also turns the forest's massive genetic library into a living pharmacy. But this isn't just about a list of plants. It's an irreplaceable encyclopedia of culture and survival. Indigenous communities know that the resin from a dragon's blood tree can heal wounds, the katahawa can be put on snake bites, and that the leaves from the matiko plant are powerful anti-inflammatory. This is knowledge passed down generation to generation, and when a tribe disappears, an entire library of this wisdom just vanishes forever. But this ancient, intricate world, both the ecology and the human culture within it, is now facing a modern threat like nothing before. The delicate balance that literally took millions of years to build is now being pushed right to the edge. Okay, so we've all heard the Amazon called the lungs of the earth, right? The idea that it produces 20% of the world's oxygen. It's a really powerful image, but it's basically a myth. The reality is, the forest uses up almost all the oxygen it makes through its own breathing and decomposition. It's true, and you could argue much more critical role for the climate is as a massive, massive carbon sink. So here's the crucial point. The trees, the plants, the soil, the whole Amazon ecosystem stores between 100 and 150 billion tons of carbon. To put that in perspective, that's more than a decade of all human emissions combined. So its real value is in keeping all that carbon locked up, safely out of our atmosphere. So what's threatening to unlock all that carbon? Well, have a look at this breakdown. The main driver, by far, is cattle ranching. A staggering 70% of deforestation is just to clear land for pasture. The rest is driven by things like agriculture, logging, mining, and new roads and dams being carved deeper and deeper into the forest. And all of this destruction is pushing us dangerously close to what scientists call a tipping point. They figure that if we lose about 20 to 25% of the forest, the entire ecosystem could lose its ability to make its own rain, and it wouldn't just shrink. It would start to unravel into a dry, dusty savanna, releasing all that carbon it's been holding. And here's the really scary part. We're already at nearly 20%. So what happens then? I mean, what does that world look like? It's not just some local disaster. It's a global climate shockwave. Billions of tons of carbon suddenly flood the atmosphere. Weather patterns across the world could shift. The flying rivers of moisture that water farmland all across South America could just dry up, triggering food and water crises hundreds of miles away. It's a pretty grim picture, I know. But, and this is a big but, the story is not over. Despite all these huge pressures, there is still hope. There is a dedicated, multi-pronged fight going on right now to turn the tide and protect this vital ecosystem. Yeah, the fight back is happening on a bunch of different fronts. First, there's land protection. Over half of the Brazilian Amazon is now formally protected, either as parks or as indigenous territories. Second, you've got technology, using satellites and drones to spot illegal activity in real time. Third is international cooperation, with things like the Amazon Fund helping to pay for conservation. And finally, there's actual reforestation, getting out there and planting trees to help heal the degraded areas. And here's the thing, these strategies can really work. I mean, look at this. In 2023 alone, because of renewed political will and tougher enforcement, the deforestation rate in the Brazilian Amazon was slashed by nearly half. This is just powerful, undeniable proof that when we decide to act, real positive change is absolutely possible. Which brings us right here to a fundamental crossroads. The fate of the Amazon, and in so many ways our own fate, really does hang in the balance. The choice is between a future that's driven by short-term profits from destruction and one that finally truly recognizes the immense, irreplaceable value of the living world. So the question we're all left with is, which path are we going to choose?